Continuing with Section 9, Part 1, Inferences about two means this time. Here are a few requirements in order to test this. Since population standard deviation is unknown, we use the t-distribution, and here is the formula for this test statistic. For the degrees of freedom, we use the smaller sample size. An example using the traditional method. So reading the problem, let's highlight some of the key information. Like the sample for commuters from Walnut Creek and Pleasanton. The sample means of miles commuted for Walnut Creek and Pleasanton drivers. And the sample standard deviations for each as well. Now we arrive to step 1, which is to identify null and alternate hypotheses. Our claim is based off the alternate hypothesis in this case. We have a right tail test here. Now we find the test statistic. So let's write the formula for that down. And now we plug in the information given into the formula. Evaluate it on our calculator. And we get 3.922 as our test statistic. Step 3, we find our critical value. So we need our level of significance of 0.05 and the degrees of freedom. Here we use the smaller sample for degrees of freedom. Now we look at our t-distribution table. Degrees of freedom of 35 and tail area of 0.05 in one tail, we get 1.690 as our critical value. And since the test statistic is in the critical region, we reject the null hypothesis. Sample data support the claim that Walnut Creek drivers commute farther than Pleasanton drivers. Another example. Here we have some DVC students claiming they take at least as many units as an LMC student. We will do this using the p-value this time. Let's label some key values. Now step 1, we identify HO and HA. Our claim this time is in the form of the null hypothesis. We have a left tail test. Now we can find the test statistic. Writing the formula down real quick. plugging in our known information. Using the calculator to evaluate. And we get test statistic of 3.43. Now step 3, we find the p-value. Since we're using the t-distribution, we use the tcdf function on our calculator after hitting the second and bars button. Choosing lower bound as negative 100 and upper bound is our test statistic, 3.43. Degrees of freedom is 15 since we use the smaller sample. We end up with 0.9981 as our p-value, which is greater than our level of significance. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis. There is not sufficient evidence to warrant rejection of the claim that DVC students take at least as many units as LMC students.